that's one of the hardest things to master in business is, am I just moving too quickly and trying it? Oh, it doesn't work one time and then I'm switching things up. And then it's like you're never really committing. Or is it that I stuck with something too long and I'm just wasting time because I could have changed things and had success? Even when we got to those $1 million months, again, things started failing. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't get harder. It's just different.
It's time to reinvent.
Welcome to the Lessons of Entrepreneurship, the journey of reinvention. I have a special guest for you, Jake Setterlun, from failed companies to scaling to $1 million a month and then losing it all and building it back up again. So you've done the whole thing.
Full circle. Absolutely.
Full circle.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to talk to you and for you to share your wealth of experience, because a lot of entrepreneurs who are somewhere in that cycle of either failing or
For sure.
doing really well or losing it all. There's somebody in all those four spaces. Jake, please let us know, what's your mission?
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. My mission is to really help as many people as possible that were in my position or currently are. Again, like you said, I've been on that cycle a couple times now where it's you fail, you have a little bit of success, you fail, success, fails. It's really my mission as of right now to share my story and help as many entrepreneurs as possible, no matter where they're at.
What is the hardest part? I think people are really interested. Am I in the hardest spot, or is the hardest spot still coming? What would you say hit you hard in all those phases or hit you the hardest?
That's a really good question. I feel like it doesn't get easier, it doesn't get harder, it's just different. So, when you're first starting out, there's different things that are hard. Like, you wanna make your first dollar, and then it's, "How do I make my second dollar?" and build systems and build teams. But then it's like, when you get to that point where you have teams, it's, "Okay, this thing broke," or, "I'm dealing with team drama," or, "This person quit, fell off the face of the earth, and now we have to replace them." So, I feel like it's just getting comfortable dealing with those different problems and comfortable facing those challenges. I don't think it's that it gets easier or gets harder, it's just different.
The way in which you handle stress probably is one of the biggest indicators, really, as much as, yes, there's knowing about business and knowing when the right thing is to do. Would you say that's true from your experience?
Yeah, I think so. And unfortunately, I've been doing this for so long. I feel like sometimes you hit it spot on. I can be like emotionally numb, where it's just like a robot. You don't really process things, you just do and you react. So it absolutely does have to do with, how do you deal with stress? How do you deal with your emotions? And can you put those things aside to do what's in front of you and tackle the challenge that is ahead?
I'm a super fan of Russell Brunson. So when I saw the two
Absolutely.
Comma Club Awards, I said, you've got to tell us about that, because there's always a story to the two Comma Awards.
It's so funny because I'm a big fan of him too, and I actually got my start in marketing doing funnels. From day one, I always saw people with these awards, and I was like, one day I just want one of those little gold ones. And then you get into marketing, and you start building these businesses, and you learn from people with those awards. And I found a good partner, and that partner led me down the road of real estate and doing marketing for real estate agents. We found a really good offer, and the two things clicked and things shot up. And that's led to having all those awards. Having a lot of success is really finding that partner, finding the right offer, and then really growing from there. But there's a story behind every single one of those, I will have to say, that goes deeper than just finding the right partner.
Tell us your favorite one, because people love a story.
Every single one of them represents a different company, a different offer. Starting with the first one and first company, we were in real estate, and me and this individual, this was right around 2019, 2020. We were doing marketing and we were having a little bit of success. So our offer was done for you advertising and marketing. It was like, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Real Estate Agent, we can help you grow your business. We can market you online." And it was going really well. This done for you program was a monthly fee that they were paying us. And we had gotten up to about 20 or 30 customers. So again, just the two of us, we quit our jobs. I'm out of school. Like, it's going well. Unfortunately, this is right when COVID was starting to flourish, and we lost about like 80% of our customers, 80, 90%. And we were like, okay, like, nobody wants to commit to this monthly fee because nobody knows what's going to happen next month. So we changed our offer into, instead of it being this done for you marketing with a monthly fee, it was a one-time cost. We're going to set you up this marketing system. And then on the back end, it's yours for life. You can pay us a little bit for support, $100 for support every single month, but it's your system. And by us changing that offer and really strategizing and making it this one-time purchase, it allowed us to scale the business because we also found very quickly that real estate agents want to be involved. They actually have a little bit of understanding of marketing, and not all of them have the budget to pay just these crazy monthly fees that everybody else was charging. Obviously, COVID was terrible for everybody, but for us, it helped us position our product a little bit better in the industry that we were in. And that was really what shot us up into, again, it was $10,000 a month and then 100,000 and then we got up to 1 million. Again, a lot happened in between. We grew our team. We hired a sales manager. We had an outsourced support team that got too big and too crazy, and that led to our failure of quality control and stuff like that. But I'm really trying to jam it all into just a little brief few minutes, but it was really a journey that absolutely sticks out as probably my favorite story, just because it was the biggest and still is the biggest kind of piece of my entrepreneurial career.
It's interesting you say that because when you haven't made $1 million and you think of other people making $1 million and you finally get there, is that the biggest mental shift? Because I feel like when you haven't done it, it doesn't matter what people tell you. There's like a mental block to, is it possible? Or maybe there's something that's missing for me to get to $1 million.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And to my core, I believe anybody can do it. Anybody can, even 1 million, 10 million, whatever it might be. If you have that goal, I 100% believe everybody can accomplish that. The weirdest mindset shift of being there, dropping down, and building back up since then is when you're at that point, it doesn't feel real. You still feel like that same person that was on your laptop, not making any money. And then you're like, we have how many people working for us? And that, as you're starting out, that thought in your head of, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be doing this is how my life is going to be. I think if you can come to the realization that you just need to be happy with where you're at now, because that feeling of where you're at currently, it's going to feel the exact same as when you get to that point. So you really need to understand that it's like that saying, like the grass is greener on the other side. There is no other side. It's just where you're at currently, and it's always going to feel like that. So if you can get over that mental roadblock and then just work towards your goals, I would say that's the best mental and mindset shift to help you achieve what you do, instead of thinking, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. When in reality, nothing really changes when you get there.
Thank you for those wise words. I'm thinking you've got 30 or so clients, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
you lose 80% of those. What is the time frame of you've got 30 clients, you've lost these clients, and then you've finally figured out how to reposition?
It was about a 6-month period where, and funny enough, that new offer, that new program that we ended up selling a year ago, he was one of our first clients actually. We had sold a very similar package. COVID hit, we lost all those clients that were paying us like $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And our thought was, let's just lower our price. Let's drop it down to $500 a month, $497 a month. That sounds reasonable. And we'll still do monthly. We won't do a contract, and let's see how that goes. And we were signing up a couple people, and people were still just leaving. It just still wasn't a good fit for the market. And we were thinking back, like, what can we do? He's doing sales, I'm doing the client support. We're hearing like nobody knows what's going on. Nobody wants to pay these monthly fees. They still want marketing. So it's this weird, they want something, but they don't want to commit to anything. And a year ago, he was one of our first clients. We had sold this individual. Again, I mentioned real estate agents want to be involved in their business. He didn't want to pay us monthly, but he was like, hey, if you guys set this marketing system up for me, I'll just pay you the one time and then I'll take it over because I know how to do things. I don't need you guys to manage it for me. I'll just manage it myself. And we were thinking, I spent an hour setting him up. We were paid $1,500 and we're still in contact with him. He ended up becoming a referral partner for us because he was so happy with us. And we were like, why can't everybody be like that? Like, we should take what we did for him and basically just sell it as a system because we spend less time, people are happier with the service. And as of right now, what's going on with the market and COVID, it makes sense that would be easier to sell. Still had the sales presentation from him, and my partner started taking sales calls and pitching that product, and it just clicked.
When you hear how these things happen in terms of time frames, you get a sense of how quick do you need to move, or when should you know that, okay, this is not working, I should do something. Because sometimes you don't know. You think, oh, maybe I'll just stick this out for another 90 days and see how it goes,
Yeah,
especially when you're starting out and you don't have that experience like you do. You're not sure at what point you should say, okay, maybe we need to do something different.
that's a really good point because even when we got to those $1 million months, again, things started failing. We had some reputation issues because our fulfillment was outsourced. And what I'm getting at is we started losing month over month, and we ran that about 8 months and didn't change anything because we were like, "Oh, it'll get better. It'll get better. It'll get better." And that's a really good point. That's one of the hardest things to master in business, entrepreneurship, whatever you want to call it, is am I just moving too quickly and trying it? Oh, it doesn't work one time, and then I'm switching things up. And then it's like you're never really committing. Or is it that I stuck with something too long and I'm just wasting time because I could have changed things and had success? So I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it's important to have different peers in the industry and different mentors that you can run things by because it can really be hard when it's just yourself and you're like, do I switch? Do I not switch? And you contemplated for, again, like you said, months. And you always have that thought like, did I make the right decision?
Jake, you've got a new book called The Offer Code: How to Create Winning Offers That Are Guaranteed to Sell in Any Market. So I'm excited to talk offers with you today because sometimes you think you've got a great offer and you don't understand why it's not selling. What are the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make around offers?
The two biggest mistakes that I see is having something that is too familiar to what everybody else is selling. And then the second mistake is going way too far down that route, which is having something that is just completely different than what everybody else is selling and almost too different. So I'll give you two examples. Let's just say you do marketing just because that's what we do. It's very top of mind for me. And I do Facebook ads. My neighbor does Facebook ads. I'm sure there's 1,500 people in my city that do Facebook ads, which means everybody does it. And when I start selling a product that is just like everybody else, I start getting compared to this person and I'm just causing competition for myself for absolutely no reason by selling the exact same service as everybody else. It's very similar to if I was picking a lawyer, it's I have this option and they all do the same thing. They all have legal services. Now, the flip side of that is okay, like I can't sell Facebook ads, so I'm going to sell Spotify ads. That's just way too alien. I use that analogy a lot where your offer is just completely alien because if I'm pitching Spotify ads, people are going to be like, I didn't even know that existed. I don't even know if that works. It's not proven. I haven't heard anybody have success with Spotify ads. So it's like now I have to educate them and just convince them that thing works. People know that Facebook ads work, so I don't have to convince them of that, but I have to convince them that Spotify ads works. I like to call it the purple ocean. I talk a lot about that in the book where it's you have the red ocean, which is when you're competing with everybody and it's just bloody water everywhere. Everybody's price shopping and it's just a lot of competition. You have the blue ocean, which is super unique, nobody around, but there's challenges in having a blue ocean offer as well. So a purple ocean is when you take a red ocean offer, so something like Facebook ads, you put a spin on it and you say, I have this omnipresent marketing system with voice AI that helps chiropractors grow their business. Part of that system is Facebook ads, part of that system is voice AI. Now you're still competitive, it's Facebook ads, but I have this uniqueness because we have voice AI involved. So now it's this purple ocean offer where it's I'm in the red ocean, I'm still selling Facebook ads, we're still selling advertising, but it's just unique enough that I'm separated out from the competition and somebody can't go to the other Facebook advertiser and say, "Oh, they're similar. I'm going to go see what they do." And then we're able to be like, "They don't have voice AI, so you can go talk to them, but they don't do what we do." So that's my favorite thing and what I recommend to everybody in terms of offers is really understanding your market. How can you be unique with not being too alien?
That's such a good one. When you said Spotify, I said I can imagine some people with the Apple phones asking you, "Where is it? Can you show me where it is?"
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
then how does it work? And then, okay, what are you talking about? That's the whole day.
100%.
And they still won't
Absolutely.
buy.
I know that. You know it too well.
You just educated them and they learned something. They're really happy about that, but not happy enough to buy it. They have no need for it. I'm so excited about it because office is one of those things where you think what you have to give to the market is an obvious sell. And sometimes it's not selling. How would you say, like a test, a litmus test maybe, to say if it really is a great offer or is it really a great offer?
It sucks, right? Because I could have the greatest product in the world and the greatest offer, but if my market doesn't wanna buy it or is not reacting to it, unfortunately, you have to go with what the consumer wants, not with what you think the consumer wants. And that can be one of the toughest things in business too. Especially for me, when I got started, I was doing marketing with golf courses and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm not going to have any competition. Nobody does marketing for golf courses. And I realized very quickly it was hard to get appointments. And that's why I shifted into real estate. Didn't really care about that industry, but we had success. And to answer your question, that is absolutely one of the biggest ways to get initial feedback is, am I able to book appointments? Now you can use ChatGPT too and have a little conversation there. But really, it's if I post something on social media or if I run an ad or even send a DM message, if I reach out to somebody or cold call or whatever, if I'm saying, hey, Mr. Business Owner, Mr. Prospect, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, are you interested in this? Whatever I do. And if they're not saying yes, or if 50% of people or 30% of people or whatever it might be are not saying yes, that means you have a bad offer, unfortunately. And you could either take what you have and market it differently, or you could just come up with something completely different. Because that is one thing too, that sometimes it's not about the offer and it's not about the product, it's about how it's marketed, which again goes back into can you put a twist on what you do to actually solve the problem of the customer? But it's really initial feedback is ask enough people, and if enough people say yes, then it is definitely valid.
Thank you for that. I think that's such an important step because sometimes we spend all this time trying to find marketing tactics and to an offer that we haven't validated if people really want it.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of frustration that comes because you think, oh, maybe if I take this course and I learn how to do this when you're starting out, you think all these crazy things.
You really do. You really do.
Thank you for telling us about that. I know the success with offers is what led probably to the book, but I'm interested in your story. Like, how did you get into this entrepreneurship space and all these awards? And you say you still feel the same. I don't think I'd feel the
Yeah.
same.
I think you'll have a little bit more confidence in yourself and your ability. I think that's probably one of those things that does change. But even then, again, I was humbled the other day. There was one business I was a part of that we ended up getting a mentor to come in and help us. And I was like, what do we need that person for? We know enough. And they came in and they turned things on its head and it's doing really well now. Even now, I'm still humbled sometimes with what's going on in the market and other people's input. But as far as my journey goes, I was 19 years old. I was in school for mechanical engineering, and I got to the point in school that I was doing internships and talking with professors about jobs and all that stuff. And I realized like this whole 9 to 5 thing wasn't for me. I had done a very corporate internship, clock in, clock out, you have a desk. And I was just like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And as a kid, I had always been interested in product development. That's why I went to school for engineering. I like creating things. And I realized very quickly that you can approach that in business and take what you like to do and do it in business. So I'm going to start a prototyping company because I like to create things. I can make a business out of it and just put the two things together. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to make a website, get an LLC. And I realized very quickly that you can't just have a business and expect people to come because everything was set up and nobody was calling me saying, hey, Jake, I want you to make a prototype for me. With that, I learned marketing. And then from learning marketing, I was like, wow, I could do this for other people. I can do it from a home. I can do it from a laptop. And then that really led me into, okay, I'm going to start doing some marketing for golf courses. Again, that led me into finding my partner, doing the real estate marketing, and the rest is history. But it all started just from being in school from engineering and really getting to the point where it's, I need to do something different because I can't do this whole desk thing for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I'm glad you realized it early and you went through that process early because sometimes people go through that as career transition when you're much older and you're tired of this corporate life, but you've given 20 years of your life to it. And I think it's even harder then.
I look up to those individuals because it took me a long time to start making money. I did a lot of work for free, and I admire the individuals that are 20 at that time, even late 20s, early 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. And they're like, I'm going to quit my job or I'm going to start this business because if they have a family. For me at 19, like, I didn't risk anything. I didn't take a chance, but those people, like, it's impressive because they really are taking a big step into wanting to build something new for themselves.
Absolutely. It's a big thing. And like you said, you spend a lot of
Yes.
time not making money in the beginning. And you can imagine going from making money and being stable to making no money to trying to figure this thing out. I wanted to ask you the psychology behind high converting offers.
It really comes down to your industry and starting to reverse engineer. Again, this is where the engineering comes in. Reverse engineer, or like really think about what's the current state of my market, whatever it might be. If I'm business to customer, what's the current state of my customer? What are their pain points? And then where do they want to get to? And what's their desired outcome? So I like to use this analogy of a bridge. If you think they're over here, and then we're over here, and how can we bridge the gap and get them to walk across the bridge over to our product, to our service? And there's two things that you can do to get them across the bridge. Number one is you could push them across, which is using fear, is using, hey, don't miss out, using FOMO, like all these kind of scarcity tactics. Or you can use that desired outcome, which is, do you want to get richer? Do you want to do something easier? Do you want to save time? You could push them across the bridge, or they can walk across the bridge, is what I like to say, themselves, and they can come to you. So those two aspects. And then as far as the psychology goes, it's okay, I need to have a solid offer, which is I need to have a solid bridge to get them from point A to point Z. I need to secure their mindset that they feel confident in what I'm going to do for them. If you have a guarantee, that's where that comes into play. Whatever your offer is, they feel like it's solid enough that it's going to get them to that other side of the bridge. And then lastly is the troll under the bridge, which is their objections. That's the things that during that buying process, when they're deciding to go with you, to not go with you, or to buy your product, not buy it, are you handling the troll under the bridge, which is the objections, which is it's too expensive or not the right time, or I tried something else, doesn't work. Whatever those objections are, you need to handle those within your offer. And then if you can completely make that bridge and handle everything, to me, that's when your offer really becomes like 100% solid psychology wise, because again, you got them in the door, you have a purple ocean offer, you handle all their objections, they actually want your product, or you're pushing them towards wanting your product. And again, there's nothing left for them to do but buy.
That's so well explained. I can see it at a trade show or you're trying to get people to your store. You can see how you'd maybe run over with a sample or you try to entice the person to come to you. But somehow when we get into the digital world, we get so confused as to what should happen when it's like a foreign land and we forget those same principles of, hey, you walk them across or invite them over and those simple principles of just how to sell.
Yep.
What's your number one tip for someone who's trying to sell or your thing that you
Yeah.
learned and it changed what was not working to what was working and you'll remember that?
For me, I'm not a natural salesperson. Still not a good salesperson. Like I can do it. I can get on the phone with somebody. What's always worked is know what you're talking about. I think that's number one. If you go into a call knowing I can talk marketing all day, so I'm going to have no problem talking to this individual, that should help out with any anxiety or any fears or any issues that you might have in the sales realm. Number two is really just ask, hey, do you want to buy this? Is this something you're interested in? And if they say no, I think that's where salespeople are all about psychology and like manipulation and, oh, if they say this, then I say this, and then I say this. And in reality, just have a conversation with somebody, ask them if they're interested. And if they need to think about it, book a follow up call and be a nice person, give them value. What you said with the free samples too, I think that's huge where people don't want to start work until they get paid. When I first got started, I would say, yo, check these ads out. Let's get these campaigns started. And I would do free work and I would give them a little taste of what it's like working with me before we ever got any payment from them or went to the closing table and signed a contract or anything like that. As far as getting started in sales, you really have to think, how was sales done 100 years ago? Not the snake oil salesman, but like truly somebody that owned a business. How did they do sales? And it's being friendly, knowing what you're talking about, and building a relationship. And then eventually that relationship will come back and pay for itself.
It's interesting that you would say you're not good at selling, which I think is encouraging to a lot of people who feel like they're not good at selling. But I think it's that approach where we're thinking we've got to be the typical salesperson and know all these tactics and know how to grid around a person's objective. You think you should embody that.
Yep.
And to hear you say that, look, how was sales done 100 years ago? The building of a relationship, asking and being willing to serve someone before you get paid. Those are really important things. If you had to sell a brand new offer and you were like, I have to make money in 48 hours, what would you do first?
That's a really good question. Probably go to local businesses. I'd walk in their business. I would have some kind of chart that I would put together with a deliverable, and I would go into businesses and basically say, I'll automate your business. That's a skill that I have. Zapier, doing all those automations, and I guess you could throw AI in there too. But I would walk into local businesses and I would say, hey, you guys are doing things the old way. We can help you do things the new way. We can automate a lot of your processes. We can send out marketing messages. We'll automate your whole business. If I really needed to make money, obviously I would take money up front. If I didn't need to make money and I had a few months, I would say, let me automate your business, see the result. Let me drive some customers in with you, also with marketing. And when I'm done, we'll talk about payment. And they would see, okay, wow, like you revolutionized how we do business. And then I would be like, okay, what do you value that at? I would work back and be like, we're saving this person 10 hours a week, this person 50 hours for the month, whatever. What does that cost you over a year? Oh, it's $50,000 over the year. Just pay me 10. And that's how I would do it if I didn't need to make money up front. If I did need to make money up front, I would have those numbers estimated and then I would propose what it's going to cost me by justifying it off of how much time I'm going to save them.
Thank you for that. The offer code, how to create winning offers that are guaranteed to sell in any market. I think we got the idea. And please go and buy and read this book. Thank you, Jake, so much for being on the podcast. To the listeners, if you can go to jakesetterlun.com, know more about that. And Jake, please, where can people follow you?
Just optimize Jake on Instagram or jakesetterlun.com. Those are the two. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.